आजचं जग हे ब्रँड म्हणजे जाहिरातींचं आहे असं म्हणतात. मॅक्सेल फाउंडेशनतर्फे दरवर्षी दिला जाणाऱ्या एक्सलन्सीचा अवॉर्ड्स बरोबर उद्योजकांशी व्यवसायाशी निगडित एका विषयावर ह्या क्षेत्रातील दिग्गज बोलावून त्यांचे अनुभव आणि मार्गदर्शन आपल्याला मिळावं ह्या हेतूने आम्ही आज एक नवीन सुरुवात करत आहोत. जाहिरात विश्वातला अत्यंत प्रतिभाशाली कलावंत ज्यांची कारकीर्द केवळ एका क्षेत्रापुरती मर्यादित नाही, हा बहुमुखी, बहुआयामी, हरहुन्नरी आणि सर्वव्यापी मिस्टर भरत दाभोलकर.
I must begin by saying that at the beginning of the show, somebody introduced Mr. Desai as a Chanakya. You'll realize why. He left exactly at the time when I was coming here to speak, so he knows what to expect, what is coming after that. Now, to begin with, I'm an extremely nervous speaker, normally. And if I have to speak after speakers like Maxell Karji, I feel even more nervous. And in fact, I've carried with me 2 slides which demonstrates how nervous I feel when I have to speak like this. The first one says, if you doubt the concept of eternity, make a 5-minute speech. And the second one says, there are 2 times in life when you're totally alone, just before you die and just before you make a speech. Now, before I begin, 2 things. One is, I want to thank Maxell for inviting me here. I always say this whenever I stand up to speak. I'm thankful to them because I've had very embarrassing situations when people invite me to speak. A few years ago, a lady came to meet me. I think she was the secretary of the Indo-American Society's Ladies Wing. I think it's called Indus or something. She came and said, Mr. Dabholakar, will you come and talk to our members on advertising? And very humbly I asked her, I said, why are you calling me? There are other people who are better than me in advertising, who are also better speakers. Why don't you call them? I finished saying this, and that day I realized how ruthlessly honest women can get on your face. That lady looked at me straight in the eye and said, yes, Mr. Dabholakar, we know there are people who are better than you in advertising, who are better speakers, but most of them are out of town. And last minute, we can't get anybody to speak, so why don't you come this year? Next year, we'll get a better speaker. So when Mr. Poddar invited me, I haven't asked him why me, I know why me. There's just one request I have, that I have been given a limited time to speak. There's a great chance that I may exceed that, so please stop me when my time is up. The reason why I'll exceed that is, in the last 10 days, I've gone on Arnab Goswami's show a couple of times, and I have not got a chance to speak there, so it's all my pent-up feelings are inside me, so they may come out today because I'm given a chance to speak without Arnab being in the hall. So please, if I exceed my time, stop me. Now, there are 2 things. I had lots of things to say, but we've all talked of innovation. We've talked of innovation of a different kind. We've talked of innovation which is of a very higher level. I'm talking of a very limited kind of innovation because I'm in the communications business. But there's one thing I've always felt about Indians and mainly about Maharashtrians, and I'm one of them, is that what we lack is that we do wonderful things. We don't promote ourselves well. We don't market ourselves well. Because we feel that if we talk of ourselves, that's arrogant. So we don't do it. And I always give this example. I said, why do you want to be a fish? Because a fish lays 1,000 eggs, and no one ever knows about this. It's very quietly done. Brilliant eggs, no one knows about this. Why can't we be a hen? A hen lays 1 egg and makes such a racket that the whole world knows that 1 egg has been laid. So instead of laying 1,000 eggs and not talking about it, why not lay 1 egg and make such a racket? And that's where I come in, because I am in the communications business. And I've always felt that we lack this. I think that is the dichotomy that we have amongst Maharashtrians, that we have all the talent and we do not know how to market ourselves. In marketing, we have one thing which says, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. And if we feel shy about what we've done, unless we do mind-blowing things, which are fantastic, like Maxell Karji has talked about, things which are world-class innovations, then the world acknowledges them anyway. You don't need to market them. But most of us don't do world-class innovations. We do things which are smaller in nature. They're still innovative, but they're smaller. And we need to make sure that the world knows about it. If they don't know, they will not appreciate that. I'll give an example. I'll give you a basic example of how competition worked in the past. Earlier, competition worked like a boxing match. You had one competitor that you knew who was in front of you. You knew who the guy was. I'll give you an example. Sony Walkman was launched, and they had basic competition with Panasonic and Sharp. Even they were making Walkmans. So Sony had to worry about what is Panasonic doing or what is Sharp doing. And they had to improve on what the other companies were doing. Or take Kodak Film. They had Fuji Film or other, the Agfa films, and they had to worry about what is that competition doing that we can better. So it was limited. You knew who your competitors were. Today, in this world, the competition is not like a boxing match. It's like a billiards table. Whatever gets hit, if that white ball gets hit, it'll go in some 4 different corners, hit 3 other balls, and come and hit you from behind. You wouldn't even know what's happened. You don't even know who your competition is today. And that is where you need to be more agile. Sony kept on looking at Panasonic and Sharp. They didn't look at a company called Apple, because they were in computer business. They were not their competition. One fine morning, Apple came out with iPod and wiped out Sony Walkman. But they were not even looking at iPod, because Apple was not their competition. When Kodak was marketing themselves, they were looking at Agfa, they were looking at Geva Color. They were not looking at mobile phone manufacturers, because they were in mobile phone business. It didn't occur to them that one day mobile phones will start having cameras on their phones, and people will use less films and less cameras, because they'll have mobile phones as cameras. And that's how competition works, which is why constantly what we need to do, Maxell Karji talked about at a higher level, we need to innovate, innovate, innovate all the time. And in our business, when we are doing smaller things, if we are startups, innovation does not mean that you do rocket science. It does not mean you do mind-blowing things. Stop being me too. All of us, what we do is we try to belong. We try and wear clothes like everybody else wears. We try and create products that everybody else does. What we need to do, the big word is unbelong. The way you can innovate is saying that everyone is doing this. I want to brand myself differently. I want to, it's not about spending money on advertising. It is about how do I unbelong so I stand out. Because unless you stand out, you will not be noticed. And you have to stand out not just to your community, not just to your state. You have to stand out for the whole world. You have to make something that makes you so different, so special. And in communication, it doesn't cost money. I'm going to show you some examples of how, when we talk about making money, we talked about Lakshmi and Saraswati. When I look at a Rolls Royce, I know I can't afford a Rolls Royce. No matter how much money I make, I can't afford a Rolls Royce. The only thing I can afford, maybe, if I'm lucky, is to stand next to a Rolls Royce. I'd gone to Raj Bhavan for a function, and this was a Rolls Royce which belonged to Lord Mountbatten. And they said, you can't touch it. And thankfully, I knew some policemen who were there, so I said, can I just stand there and take a picture, because I'll never get a chance again. So I took a picture next to a Rolls Royce. So I said, if I can't afford a Rolls Royce, do I feel bad? Do I buy something that looks like a Rolls Royce? Or do I go unbelong and go to the other extreme? I bought myself an auto rickshaw. Cost me 17,000 rupees. I bought a second-hand auto rickshaw, modified it. I gave it a little sticker I made for it which said, Worley Davidson, because I had a house at Worley. And I can assure you that this has happened to me, that I had gone for a speech at the Navy Nagar one day, and when I was coming on a Sunday morning, there was a Rolls Royce which was stopped at the Air India building, and a lot of people were standing there and taking pictures, and my auto rickshaw came next to it. And everybody stopped looking at the Rolls Royce. Because Rolls Royce money can buy, so why not be creative? Why try and be rich? I'll give you some examples. It doesn't cost money. We all have British Council in every city, in most countries of the world. Now, what is the purpose of a British Council office in a country or a city? They say we treat you and we teach you how to read and write correct English or speak correct English. Because if you don't know how to speak English, you'll make mistakes that are stupid. Instead of spending a lot of money on their advertising campaigns, what they did is they called the photographer and said, go and shoot examples of wrong English in use. And we'll just use those photographs in our ads. And they made many campaigns. I'll just show you 3 examples quickly. The first one was for a hotel which said, Hotel Pierre, please leave your values at the front desk. What they meant was valuables, but the chap who wrote that didn't know, so they clicked this picture. And it said, improve your English. The copy down was, we have lots of part-time and full-time courses, come and join us. The second ad was for a board that they had to make for a garden. This was a garden where women were not allowed. I think it must be in Afghanistan or something. I can't think of any other country where women aren't allowed. Now, the guy who had to write the board saying women not allowed did not know good English. This chap just went and clicked the picture. And it said, warning, it is forbidden to enter a woman. What they meant was no entry for women, but didn't know good English. So British Council said, improve your English. Please come to us. We'll teach you how to read and write correct English. The third one was for a restaurant which took pride in their quality control. They said, whatever we serve here has been completely tested. You don't have to worry about our quality. Eat freely in our place. But the chap who again wrote that board didn't know English. So this is what he wrote. Papa's Cafe, the manager has personally passed all the water served here. What they meant was he has certified all the water served here. But he said personally passed all the water served here. And it said, improve your English, come to us, we'll teach you. And I think one country where maybe British Council does not have an office is Pakistan. Somebody sent me some examples of some Pakistan hoardings. The first one on the corner here, it said, Mangopir River is inhabited by crocodiles, swimming is prohibited, survivors will be prosecuted. Then that one was at the lift, which said, press up to go up, press down to go down. Then this one here said, attention, before entering the lift, check whether the lift is in place or not. And then this one says, no alcohol in or out. So I don't think British Council has an office in Pakistan. All the other countries they have. Now, I'll give you an example of how things work. Some years ago, when Dr. Pasricha was the Commissioner of Police Traffic in Mumbai, he came to our office and he said, we have one problem, that in Mumbai, lots of places, in most of the places, people spit on walls and urinate on the walls. And some societies have put God's pictures outside. We can't cover the whole Mumbai with God's pictures. But this is what we want to say. यहाँ थूकना, पेशाब करना या गंदगी करना मना है, दंड 5,000 रुपए या कैद, by order. Please, we want to make hoardings saying this. And I very politely, I mean, when you're talking to a policeman, you have to talk politely. So I said, sir, this is the wrong way of trying to achieve what you want to achieve. Because all of us, even when you are grown up, we have a child in us. And you tell a child not to do something, his first instinct is, I will do it. So if you say, don't do this by order, every man's first thing is, if I do it, let's see how you catch me. And I said, how many policemen do you have that can keep on catching people urinating on walls? I said, do you have that kind of police force? He said, no. I said, then don't say, we'll do this by order. Make them feel embarrassed about doing this. And we did this. We said, यह गधों की पेशाब करने की जगह है. I said, don't tell people what you want to tell them. Say what you want them to do, the action you want to create out of that, put it that way. And we put this up as a trial case. We did this on 15 hoardings in Mumbai, after which Dr. Pasricha got transferred, not because of this hoarding, for whatever other reasons they may have had, departmental reasons. Now, for instance, here's another example. If you put a board saying, drive slowly, because there are pedestrians crossing, no one will drive slowly. But if you say, attention, beyond this point, you may encounter nude bathers. Everybody will slow down, because there's a great chance that you may see some nude bather passing. So, innovation is about this. It's how do you put the same thing in a different way. And humor works. You don't have to be in a business of soft drinks or ice creams to be innovative about how you communicate things. Humor works everywhere. Here is, in London, an ad for Arel Diet where they actually stuck a real car onto a hoarding. Not a dummy car, a real car. And the line said, it also sticks handles to teapots. Here's another one. This is a classic example of how you don't need money to spend to innovate. We go to a watch shop, we spend all the time trying to see how a watch looks on our wrists. And a lot of time is spent by wearing different watches. This guy put different watch models on the straps that you hold in trains or buses. So when you're standing in a bus, you could see how the watch looks on your wrist. You could keep changing the handles and keep seeing it, mark the number of the watch which was on the side. So when you go to a shop, You didn't have to waste time because you had already seen how it looks on your wrist. Didn't cost too much money. It was a part of the game. Here's a classic case of a binocular manufacturer called Orion. They said, we have very powerful binoculars. The first one says 200 magnification, you see the moon. 400 magnification, you see the American flag on the moon. And 800 magnification, it says made in China. You think that's how powerful we have as a thing. Now here is an ad for a butter, which said, welcome back to butter. Butter has no more calories than margarine. Now I don't agree with this. I don't think you need to use a half-naked woman to sell your products because then it doesn't need creativity. Your local pan wala can put a bikini-clad woman and say Sharma Pan Bhandar and sell pans, but you don't need to be creative. I'm not saying this because I'm a great champion of women's causes. I'm not. I personally believe that in Mumbai, women have it far better than all of us men have. I'll give you an example. It's getting hot now, May. Suppose tomorrow on a Sunday, the electricity in my building goes off. There is no fan, no electricity, no air conditioner working. I go to my own terrace, take off my clothes, and lie down to get some fresh air, not troubling anybody. And in the next building, if a lady goes up to dry her clothes or dry papads, I don't know why women go to terraces in the afternoon for, but if she goes to the terrace and she sees me lying there without clothes, she can phone up the police and have me arrested for indecent exposure. And my life is over. People say he didn't look the type, but you know what he was doing on a Sunday afternoon? He was lying on his terrace without clothes. Now the following Sunday, if in that lady's building the lights go off, she has no fan, no air conditioner working, she goes to her terrace, takes off her clothes and she's lying there. And if I go to my terrace and look at her, again she can phone up the police and have me arrested for being a peeping Tom. Which means either way men don't win. So when I say I don't agree with this, it's not because I'm championing women's causes. I say this because I had this great privilege, and I always say this, of working on a great brand which is in the Guinness Book of World Record, called Amul. And whenever I talk of Amul, I always say the credit for what Amul was, is, and will be in future does not go to guys like us who write those lines. It goes to a man called Dr. Kurian. He was the world's best client anybody could have. When he appointed us, he said, I have a choice of going to 400 agencies. I have chosen your agency. I do not understand anything in advertising. I don't understand medicine, so I don't tell a doctor what medicine to give me. I don't understand advertising. Don't show me what you do. At the end of the year, we would go to him with an album saying, sir, this is what we did for you last year. He hadn't seen it till then. That's why we could be so topical. If I was sitting and talking here today, and if Tendulkar was playing and he scored a century, I would write a line here, I would phone up my office and say, do a hoarding like this, put up a scaffolding and start painting in the night. And they would start painting in the night. By tomorrow morning, before you read the papers that Tendulkar had scored a century, there would be Amul hoarding with a joke on it. And that was only possible because there was no client to go to and have meetings. I'll just quickly show you a few examples of how we had fun with Amul. There was a time when the central government announced a 5-day working week. So we Saturday, Sunday off. So we said, what do government employees still do 7 days a week? Eat Amul. Now this hoarding went up, and at Bangalore airport, I met a very senior manager of a multinational company who said, Bharat, that new hoarding is fantastic, huh? But not many people have got the real meaning. I said, what is the real meaning? He said, you've written the words, eat Amul under the table. You know, government employees eat everything under the table. Now, very honestly, that was not our intention. The artist must have found that place. I couldn't tell him at that time. I said, brilliant, you know, not many people have got the real meaning. But now, years later, I can admit that it was just put there because that was the place the artist found. We used to do lots of hoardings on Ganpati. Now, I don't have the one that I'm going to talk about. It was identical to this, except the line was, Ganpati Bappa more ghya. And the difference was the girl had a slice of butter on a plate, and Ganpati had a slice of bread in his hand. And this hoarding went up, and I got a 25-page letter from a lawyer in Mumbai who said, I'm a regular consumer of Amul butter, but your latest hoarding has hurt my religious feelings. Because in Hinduism, you cannot show a Hindu gods holding bread in their hand. This is the explanation he gave, that I believe in the past, Christian missionaries used to go and throw a loaf of bread in the well, and if you drank water from that, that means you got converted to Christianity. So he said, because you've done this, in protest, I am hereby advising you that I have stopped eating Amul butter from today. Then he added a proviso, saying, but if you give me a personal assurance that you will never ever repeat this hoarding again, I may reconsider my decision. Now, we never repeat hoardings anyway. So I said, why tell him we never do it? So I wrote a nice small letter to him saying, thank you very much. This was not meant to hurt your feelings. But if it has hurt your feelings, I assure you, I'll never repeat this hoarding again. I got a 40-page letter from him. I think lawyers can't write briefly. He went into a whole detail of saying, I refer to my earlier letter dated so-and-so, where I had mentioned all this. Thereafter, I refer to a letter dated so-and-so, where you've given me a personal assurance you'll never... In reply to that letter, I am hereby happy to announce that I have started eating Amul butter again. So we got that one consumer back. So when I did this hoarding, I said, let's not take chances. So the line was, Ganpati Bappa more dya. The girl had nothing on her plate. Ganpati had nothing in his hand that he shouldn't have. And this hoarding went up. And the Amul Mumbai office got a call from somebody who said, I'm calling from the Shiv Sena Shakha of Chowpatty. If you don't remove this hoarding in the next 48 hours, we'll burn it down. So they called me up and said, look, we are not supposed to interfere in your hoarding, as Dr. Kurian has told us, but this is a threat we've got. So remove the hoarding. And I said, let's not be in a great hurry. Let's try and talk to somebody in Shiv Sena. I didn't know anybody in Shiv Sena that time. I know people now, but that time I didn't know anybody. So I went through a whole list of people who are in Shiv Sena. There was Shagan Bhujbal, not in town. Manohar Joshi, not in town. Whoever. I mean, I went through a whole list. So finally, in desperation, I found Balasaheb Thackeray's number. And I called him up and I said, sir, can I come and meet you? I write these Amul butter hoardings. And he said, yeah, come to the Shiv Sena Bhavan tomorrow. So I went with the print of this hoarding and I said, my name is Bharat Dabholakar. I write these hoardings. He said, oh, you write this? I didn't know a Maharashtrian was writing this. I'm very proud. So he said, I'm a great fan of Amul butter. He's saying, I don't think anybody from Shiv Sena would threaten to burn this hoarding. But if you're afraid of this, I can phone up the Shakha Pramukh at Chowpatty and ask him to give protection to this hoarding. So I came back to the office. We were very confused. We said, look, somebody is threatened and said, I am the Shakha Pramukh, I'll burn it down. Balasaheb is saying that it can't be our Shakha Pramukh, I'll give protection to the hoarding. So what should we do? So we had a long debate and finally I said, look, I'll take a call. Let's keep the hoarding on. And let's hope somebody burns it down. What will happen? If it's burned down, in the next 5 minutes, Arnab Goswami, Barkha Dutt, Rajdeep Sardesai, they'll all come there. For the next 8 days, they'll discuss nothing but Amul butter hoarding. They'll have debates on this. Are we losing our sensitivity? What is happening to our country? I said, we can't afford so much publicity. We don't have those kind of budgets. I said, I'll get interviewed on television. Dr. Kurian will get called on television. Are we losing our sensibilities? What is happening? They'll be screaming all around. All channels will carry it 400 times a day. So I said, let's keep it on. So instead of 10 days of Ganpati, I kept this hoarding on for 20 days. I would phone up the office and say, Jalaya kya kisi ne hoarding? Then they would say, nahi sir, kisi ne jalaya nahi abhi tak. So after 20 days, I realized it was getting a bit outdated, so I removed it. But from that time, as long as I wrote the Amul butter hoarding, I never touched a religious topic. Because I think as a country, we're getting oversensitive about these issues. No matter how we put it, someone or other takes objection. And we were in the business of selling butter. We were not in the business of making a social comment. So we stick to easier topics. Sports was a great topic. There was a World Cup football where Maradona was the hero. So I said, Maradona to aisa hona, butter hona to Amul hona. Then the first time we went to Sharjah for a one-day international and lost, we said it was Sharjah boys, not Harjah, Amul butter. Then there was one match where Zahir Abbas kept on scoring a century in every inning that he played against us. So I said, Zahir Abbas, and have some utterly batterly Amul. And this hoarding went up and there was a match in Karachi. And Zahir got out for 14 runs. So we put a banner on the hoarding saying, thank you Zahir for listening to Amul. Then there was again a Pakistan-India match, one-day match, where on the last ball of Chetan Sharma, Miyadad hit a sixer and they won the match. So we said, Miya ki daat se Sharma gaye, Amul butter. And that's how communication and innovation works. Now this is the last one I'm going to show you. When Raj Kapoor passed away, we said, let's not be clever. Let's not write a clever line. Raj Kapoor was known as a joker, and we said, what is a joker? Joker is somebody who makes you laugh and smile, even if he's crying from inside. So I said, the greatest tribute to Raj Kapoor would be if you can show the Amul butter girl as a joker, with tears in her eyes, but that fixed smile on the face. And we put up this hoarding, and we won an award in every category that we entered this hoarding that year. Now, the good thing was that an Amul butter hoarding and won an award. The bad thing was, I would spend a whole year writing some 45 clever lines, and finally the hoarding that gets an award has no words on it. But when we are talking about, sir, innovation in our small way, the way we innovate is by communicating the innovations that people like you and inspired by you do. And that's what we do. Thank you very much. I think my time is up.